Hi, so before anything else, I'll start by introducing myself so you guys have some context. I'm 28 years old, and for the first 10 years of my life, I grew up in an orphanage. I had been given up by my mother as a baby, and for the longest time, I didn't know why. I honestly used to think that it was because my mother was going through some sort of trouble, and that's why she had to give me up, because she couldn't raise me. But then I got adopted, and that's when I finally found out the truth. I got adopted at the age of 11 by one of my favorite people at the orphanage. My adoptive mom, she was an employee at the orphanage, and she has been working there for almost 5 years. So she knew me pretty well. Then, when I was 11, she got married and she decided to quit her job at the orphanage and adopt me as she left. I was obviously thrilled. I couldn't have asked for anything better, and I'm incredibly grateful to my mom and dad for having adopted me. I grew up with them, and I would always ask my mom for more information on my biological mother because I knew that since she had worked with the office, she would probably have more data than I did. But she never told me anything. She always dismissed the topic until I turned 16. I guess I must have been bugging her more than usual or something, but one day she decided to sit me down and tell me everything that she knew. Everything that she had found out from the other people at the orphanage who had been working there longer than she did. Apparently, my situation was pretty popular among the staff because whatever had happened to me, it was one of the most awful things they had ever heard of. So it had sort of stayed as a situation everybody spoke about even a decade after I had been left at the orphanage. And that's how my mom also found out about it. And because it was so difficult to talk about, she didn't bring it up with me for years because she didn't want to hurt me. But at 16, she thought it was finally time for me to know the truth about my mom so I wouldn't ask about her again, because it wasn't worth it. This is everything that she told me before getting into what had happened. So I was already pretty shocked because I didn't think that there would be such a negative angle to all of this. But anyway, that helped me mentally prepare myself for what came next. And I have to say, I'm very glad that my mom prepared me before launching into the story of whatever she knew about me. Because trust me, as an adopted kid, it was really difficult for me to hear, since I had believed for years that my mother had been a good person who had been forced into giving me up because of circumstances in her life. And, as it turns out, that was not the case at all, because she was a terrible person in general. I'll try to keep it short, but this is what my mom told me. I'll refer to my biological mother as Kate. I'll use a fake name to avoid any sort of confusion. So what everybody at the orphanage knew was that I was 6 months old and quite sickly when Kate decided to give me up to the orphanage. They couldn't understand what was going on until Kate told them that she couldn't afford to raise me on her own, and on top of that, I had a lot of health issues, so she had to look out for herself as well. Because she was pretty young and she was a single mother as well, she acted like it was very hard for her, and eventually the orphanage dealt with the situation and took me in. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, not exactly, because the reality of the situation was a lot more complicated. And that's not something the orphanage found out about until much later, and even that happened by accident. One of the employees at the orphanage back when I was a baby happened to have a daughter who worked at the orphanage part-time and was also a part-time employee at a catering business. That's how she found out, about a month after I had been given up to the orphanage, that Kate was getting married, and she had that on authority because she had been there at the wedding as catering staff. Not only that, she also knew for a fact that Kate had a baby around my age, and even though we didn't look similar, it was obvious that we were twins. Fraternal, if not identical, because it was impossible that she had a baby the same age as me, and that led to a lot of confusion in the orphanage because clearly Kate had lied about being a single mother, and nobody even knew that she had had another baby and I was part of a set of twins. Back then, background checks were not that extensive, and orphanages were underfunded and their staff were overworked as it is, so I don't blame anybody for not knowing the full situation. Anyway, the documentation was iffy, but it was all done and I had been accepted into the orphanage, so there was nothing to be done except to just accept the situation. However, the lady who managed the orphanage reached out to Kate just to ask why she did all of this, off the record. I guess it was purely out of curiosity because nothing really happened afterwards. But Kate did tell her that she didn't have any other option because she and her husband could only support one child on their combined income, and it couldn't be me because I had been a very sickly child and it was taking a toll on them financially to keep rushing me to the doctors every other day. And most importantly, the biggest reason why she had made the decision of giving me up to the orphanage was because after a lot of tests conducted on both me and my twin, she and her husband had learned that I had a gene which made me more susceptible to aplastic anemia in the future. My twin sister, since we were fraternal twins, was less at risk. That, combined with my already low immunity to infection, made them realize that they couldn't handle me for the future, and so they gave me up. Now, this had not been brought up beforehand, so it came as a surprise, but like I said, it changed nothing, and I continued to stay in the orphanage in spite of all the incorrect factual details provided by Kate and all the details that she had omitted to make the process easier and more convenient for her. After that, people understood that my situation was pretty tragic, and people took an interest, and my story was passed on until it became common knowledge for everyone who worked at the orphanage. Everybody knew about it, and I guess that's why everyone treated me so well, probably because they were expecting me to collapse at any point in time. Anyway, my mom knew about it as well, and she had found out from the other employees, and she already had a soft corner for me, so that just convinced her that I was the one she wanted by her side, and after me, she didn't even have any other kids. And after she told me everything about Kate, I never brought it up again because I never wanted to hear it again. After finding out the truth about why I had actually been abandoned, I lost all desire to ever see Kate or my father or even the fraternal twin that I never knew I had. I locked it up in a compartment of my brain so that I would never be able to access it again because that was the safest way for me to deal with it. And until recently, I had been successful in keeping these thoughts away. But around a week and a half ago, my mom received a call from the orphanage and she told me that apparently Kate had been looking for me and wanted to reconnect. And that caught me off guard because it's been almost 3 decades since she gave me up, so I can't imagine why she would want to reconnect now. If she truly did, I think she might have done that earlier, so I could already tell her there was something fishy about this. But my mom told me that if I wanted to, then she would definitely encourage me to speak to Kate just to find out what all of this is about. In the beginning, I was not convinced, but then I thought about it for a couple of days and eventually I said yes. So the orphanage provided Kate's contact info to me and I decided to reach out to her. We spoke on call. She didn't seem particularly affectionate or interested, but even then, we set up a meeting at a restaurant near my workplace, and 4 days ago, we finally came face to face. I don't know what I had been expecting, maybe some sort of emotion from her, at least some regret or surprise or whatever, but nothing like that happened. She was quite cool and collected, very civil and polite, and it almost felt like I was there for a business meeting, because she made some small talk for a couple of minutes before we ordered the food, and then while we were waiting for our lunch, she told me that she wasn't going to waste my time and she was going to get right into why exactly she had decided to meet me after almost 3 decades of not knowing me. Right then, I knew that I had been correct in assuming there was a reason that she wanted to reconnect. And I guess I should have left, but I didn't, because I was curious. Anyway, she went on to tell me that my twin sister, let's call her Bella, had been diagnosed with aplastic anemia a couple of months ago, the very same disease that I had been tested for and declared to be at risk. Unfortunately, by some cruel twist, the kid that they had decided to keep ended up getting that disease, and I was safe. Bella had apparently been in and out of hospital for the past few months, and she had been struggling to keep up with her failing health, and the doctors have suggested a bone marrow transplant to at least prolong her life, if not to heal her. Now, Kate and her husband, our biological father, they have both been tested, but they are not a match, and they have been told that a sibling is the next likeliest match. So now she has decided to reach out to me, talk to me, and somehow convince me to at least test and help my sister out so that she can live. And this is the full story of why exactly she wanted to reconnect with me. Not because she felt sorry about whatever she had done, not because she thought that she needed her spare child again, simply to save the kid that she had decided to keep. I felt so insulted and humiliated, and while I do feel sorry for Bella, I can't say I feel the same way about Kate, because let's be real, she had discarded me when she thought that I was going to fall sick, and now that I was the real one, she wanted me to help her out in order to save her primary kid. After hearing her out, I thought that I was going to have some sort of outburst or whatever. But instead, I decided to deal with it as calmly as possible. I just told her that I needed time to think about it, and I wasn't ready to say anything just yet, because all of this was pretty new to me, and I don't even know these people. So she needed to give me some space before I could come to a decision about what I wanted to do. She looked a bit surprised at that. She probably expected me to say yes right away. But anyway, she only told me not to take too much time, and we ended our lunch and went back home. She didn't hug me or anything. There was no expression of remorse or whatever. It was pretty surprising. When I came back home, I decided to call my mom, and I spoke to her about everything that had happened. And she told me that whatever I would decide, she would respect my decision, and she was not going to color my opinions by saying anything before I made up my mind. I respected that, and for the past 2 days I had been thinking about what I wanted to do. Eventually, I decided that I didn't want to see these people again, so even though I felt bad for Bella, I decided to block Kate so she wouldn't be able to reach out to me. Honestly, this had all really messed with my head, and so I didn't think much about what I was doing or the repercussions of it. I just did it, and I blocked her. But then last evening, I received a phone call from an unrecognized number, and I had a gut feeling that it might be Kate. So I didn't pick up. I was just thinking about whether I should block this number or not, when they started calling me non-stop and they started texting me, telling me to pick up the phone. Eventually, my curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to pick up the phone. And it wasn't Kate, but it was actually Bella on the other end. And as soon as I picked up, she started to tell me that she was really happy that I had picked up after all these attempts, because she had almost given up. And from her voice, I could tell that she was a pretty weak woman right now, and I felt really bad for her. So I started to apologize, but then she told me that there was no need for me to do that, because she knew that I must have had my reasons. But at the end of the day, like every other human being, she's also quite selfish and thinks only for herself. And right now, given the fact that she's in a life-threatening situation, she can't prioritize my feelings, since she really needs me to help her out and at least get tested. She sounded pretty earnest, so I didn't know what to say for a couple of minutes, and she went on talking. She told me that she hopes that I don't hold her responsible or I don't resent her for whatever had happened in the past because she didn't have any control over it. And like me, she was just a baby too. In fact, she didn't even know that I existed until recently. And she's not happy about what has happened. But she doesn't have time to sit and think about that and worry about it because for her, this is a matter of saving herself at the moment. She kept talking, and basically, she was implying that I wasn't getting back at my mom. But instead, I was putting her at risk by not getting tested. And in the end, I told her that I would think about it and I would call her back within a week. I promised her and told her that I wasn't going to block her, but now I just feel weird about everything that has happened. And I feel like I owe her an apology. She's right about one thing. Whatever has happened, it's not her fault and it's not my fault. So why am I punishing her for it? Because ultimately that's what it comes down to. Because if I don't get tested, then she's the one who's going to have to face the repercussions even more than my parents. But at the same time, I know that if I agree to all of this, I'm going to have to see them and I'm going to have to talk to them, and I really don't want that. I know it's selfish of me, but that meeting with Kate really messed with my head. And I really mean it. So I don't know. I just feel so confused. AITA for feeling confused about whether I should help my sister, even if it means having to deal with my estranged parents. Update 1. Okay, so thank you so much to everybody who commented on my post. It has given me a lot of clarity and a lot to think about. First things first, it has been 3 days since I posted, and these 3 days have been pretty difficult because I haven't been able to get anything done due to how heavily my conscience had been weighing on me. I was pretty distracted at work, so I decided to work from home, and even that wasn't good enough for me because, well, I felt like I was suffocating on my own. So I decided to go and stay with my mom and dad just to clear my head for a bit. And for 2 days, including today, I've been living with them, and I think that has helped a lot because I spoke to them about the whole situation. I got it all off my chest, and they provided a pretty simple solution for all of it. They understood that the whole dilemma was that I didn't want to deal with my parents, but I still wanted to help Bella. So they told me to speak to Bella, explain the same thing to her, and they believed that she would understand it because at the end of the day, she has been in the exact same situation. And in fact, she has come to find out about me even later than I found out about her. So in all likelihood, she's probably even more hurt by our parents, and the only reason she hasn't been able to do anything about it is because of her failing health. But if I tell her everything, then she will probably understand and respect it. And she will arrange for me to be tested and for me to go through the procedure without having to interact with Kate and our father at all. I thought that was a pretty straightforward answer, and I ended up feeling a bit embarrassed and stupid for not having thought of it earlier because I was overcomplicating things that did not need to be complicated at all. So after the discussion with them, today I finally worked up the courage and decided to call Bella, and I spoke to her about everything that had been bothering me. And after hearing me out, she reacted exactly how my parents had supposed she would. She was very sweet about the whole thing. She told me that if this was the only problem I had, then it was not a problem at all, because she could totally understand where I was coming from, and she didn't even blame me for it. She had been feeling that way herself for a while, and the only reason she hasn't been able to do anything about it is because she's too weak, and she needs our parents to be helping her out at the moment. However, if I don't want to speak to them and if I don't want to have any sort of interaction with them, she is going to do everything in her power to arrange that for me, and I don't have to worry about any of it. With that out of the way, I felt a lot better about everything, and we were able to have an easy conversation, and she invited me over to come and see her. She's staying with our parents, She's been living with them ever since she fell sick. But she told me that they would be out for the evening and it would only be her and the nurse at home. And she would tell our parents not to come back home before a particular hour because she wanted to spend some time with me and she wanted to get to know me. I thought that was pretty sweet of her and I agreed immediately, so it's decided now. I'm gonna go meet her in the evening, and any doubts that I had about it, I spoke to my parents and they thought it was a great move, so I'm pretty confident now. Update 2. So I'm on my way back home right now after meeting my sister, and I have to say, it went a lot better than what I expected. I thought it would be awkward at the very least, but it wasn't. In fact, I thought this meeting was everything I had expected from the meeting with Kate, because this made me feel all the emotions. Kate had been very formal and uninterested, but not Bella. As soon as her nurse let me into her room, she tried to set up, and I could tell that she had to put an effort into it. She was very tired and weak, and looked pretty emaciated, but in spite of all of that, it seemed as if she was trying to stand up and come to me. Obviously, I couldn't allow that to happen, so I had to go to her as quickly as I could, and I sat down beside her. And even though we are not identical twins, there definitely was a resemblance between the both of us. And for a few seconds, we just kept looking at each other until we both started crying. I don't know what it was, but it was just really emotional. And then we were hugging, and I had to be very careful with her because she seemed fragile. But in spite of not knowing her at all for these many years, I felt like I had known her forever. After we were done hugging, we started talking, not just about our families, but about literally everything under the sun. I told her about myself, my career, my likes, dislikes, where I went to school, literally everything that I could think of, and she did the same. Apparently, she had been working in HR before this, but recently she had to quit her job because she just couldn't do it anymore. Now she's working at another company and they allow her to work from home. And it keeps her distracted, but the pay isn't as good as it used to be. But our parents are helping her financially, so she's not too worried about the money. But she doesn't want to be too much of a burden on them, so she has to continue work even though it requires her to exert herself a little bit. She also told me that she had been thinking about how it would be to meet me and talk to me for the first time ever since she found out about me. And even though she's very upset with our parents for never telling her about any of this and treating me this way, and for discarding me like I meant nothing when I was just a baby, she can't help but be thankful that they at least told her the truth at this point in time when she wasn't sure how much time she had left. I tried to cheer her up, but of course there's only so much you can do for somebody in a situation like that. Anyway, for the most part, she was happy enough to see me, and we spent the evening just talking to each other about everything, and soon enough, it was time for me to leave. Then she told me that she had spoken to our parents, and even though they were not happy about it, she had arranged for them to promise that they wouldn't interact with me. They wouldn't bother me at all, and I would go through with the test. And if it turned out to be a match between the both of us, I would definitely go through the procedure. And I told her that there was no doubt about it. In fact, at this point, even if I had to interact with Kate and our father, it wouldn't make a difference to me because all that matters to me is saving Bella. Honestly, right now, I can say for sure that nothing would make me happier than knowing that we are a match and that I can help save her life. Because honestly, that's truly all I want. I want her to live a long, happy life. I want her to heal from all of this. I want us to have enough time together to build a real relationship as sisters. And I'm going to keep her in my prayers. I'm going to hope that all of this happens and it all works out for us because I think we haven't had enough time together, thanks to our parents. And I'm hoping that this brings us together. It's tragic, obviously, that we are having to meet under these circumstances, but at least we know each other now. And I'm looking forward to the future. Update 3. Hey, so it's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and I did get tested, and Bella and I are a match. I can't say that I've ever been happier, and on top of that, we have also been meeting quite frequently. I've been going over to her place almost every other day, visiting her, talking to her, keeping her company, and even though I have to see Kate and my father every time I go over, it's nothing in comparison to how I feel when I'm spending time with Bella. I know this will sound very strange given that we have only known each other for a couple of weeks, but I feel like that was an incomplete part of my life, which is complete now. In fact, she has even invited my parents over so she can speak to them and get to know them because she says that if they have raised me, then they are definitely family, regardless of whether we are related by blood or not. I mean, she truly is so wonderful. I can't imagine why on earth this universe would make her fall sick. Anyway, the bottom line is we are meeting more frequently, and soon enough, we're going to have the procedure done for the bone marrow transplant, and I'm a bit nervous about it. And so is she. But we know that we are strong and we are going to get through it together. And I'm really hoping that this helps her and that she goes on to live longer. I'm counting on it. Update 4. Hey, I'm so sorry for having kept you guys in suspense for so long, for almost a year. But I didn't want to jinx anything by speaking about it publicly. I know it's weird, but well, I'll get to it now. Bella is happy and healthy, and her body has responded well to the transplant. It's been a year. Her progress has been monitored closely, and the doctor said that she's doing well. Everything has been going smoothly, and I can't tell you guys how happy I am. I truly am. It's been a blessing to get to know her, and I think in this past year we have become closer than ever. And I would definitely say that she's my best friend. We are more similar than I ever expected to be. We spend a lot of time together, and what's even better is that she gets along well with my parents as well. And it is so heartwarming. We hang out a lot, and now that she's stable enough to move around, she comes over to see us as well, so we don't have to go through the ordeal of having to deal with Kate and her father, who are always very sour whenever we are around. They don't say anything, but it's very evident that they don't like us coming over. But nobody cares about that. It's all about what Bella wants at the end of the day. And I have to say, being the favorite really pays off. Anyway, jokes aside, she has made a full recovery and is expected to get stronger and better. So she's slowly easing back into work, and she has even decided to start looking for an apartment so she can start living independently again. It's a bit risky at this point, but she has made up her mind. And she's looking for a place which is equally close to both me and her parents, so you guys can see exactly how important we are to each other. Anyway, I'm just really happy that this is how things have worked out. I couldn't have asked for more. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.